this session, we're going to look at the first and perhaps most primary of the 8 powers. This is the power known as Peng. Peng is often translated to mean ward off. And the impression that we get from that description is that we are warding something off us. Okay? So the thought process is that it is like a person holding a shield and deflecting or warding someone away. If you imagine the type of power that we would need to use when deflecting something using a shield, you will get a good impression of the sort of power of Peng. It is an upwards and outwards expanding power. It is the primary yang power of Tai Chi. So when we look at Peng and we look at performing the Nei Gong, we will note that the Nei Gong goes from down to up and out. And this helps us to produce, connect to, and refine the upwards-outwards direction of Peng. So Peng is the expansive aspect in Tai Chi. It is the idea of the ball being inflated. The interior of the ball becomes more pressurized and the skin of the ball expands. If you were to put your fingers on 2 points of the ball and feel the ball expand under your fingers, you'd feel it expanding in all directions outwards. This is the sort of energy of Peng, the feeling and concept behind the power. So Peng and Peng Jin, the applied or directional energy of Peng, is this upwards, outwards expanding power. And we see that in the Nei Gong practice. So, of course, as with everything in the Tai Chi Academy, we need to set the frame, make sure that our posture is correct. It is extremely important that we do this when we do any Nei Gong, because we are turning our attention inside the body, and if the body is all crooked or too slack, we won't get the same level of development, and we can actually build on top of deficiencies. So make sure that before all practice, you set the frame up properly. Okay, so what we're going to do is just look at the basic choreography of Peng Nei Gong. Now, this, as I mentioned, is the upwards-outwards expanding aspect. And to connect ourselves to this, what we do is we raise the hands and we open them up and out. It's quite a simple process, quite a simple movement, but it's where inside of this simplicity that complexity arises. So what I'd like you to do is set the frame, make sure that you're in the right position, dantian is full, chest is empty, and the body is in this responsive state. Now what we are going to do is bring our palms towards the front of the body. So at the moment they're out by the sides, I'm going to bring them in towards the front of the body, and they should sit just below the lower dantian, almost in line with the inguinal creases, okay? And what I'm going to do is sink my body down a little bit, okay, and at the same time extend my hands down slightly. So I'm sort of preloading the body into a position where it's able to open up. So I sink slightly, extend the hands down slightly, and then I draw the hands up the center of the body. And as I do this, my elbows start to point out towards the sides. As soon as my hands reach the level of the solar plexus, they start to expand outwards. And they're expanding outwards and upwards at the same time towards the level of the shoulders. Now, once they reach the level of the shoulders, that's the culmination of the movement. So I get to here, I start to expand out and up from the solar plexus area to the level of the shoulders. My end position should be that the hands are basically in front of the shoulder joints themselves. Okay, the elbows are very slightly sunk. And if you were to draw a line out from the solar plexus directly ahead, the point on my wrist where we would take a pulse is at 45 degrees to that center line. Okay, so this point here, not the hand or the fingers. The point where you would take a pulse on the wrist is at 45 degrees to the forward line on both hands, okay? We want to make sure that there is a nice curve from the points of the fingers all the way through the back, through the other arm. It's like I'm holding onto a ball in front of me. So we don't want to have any kinks in the wrists, no kinks in the hands. Remember, the hands are open and live. The elbows are not too bent and they're not too straight. Okay? Now, once we've reached this point and we're in this position, we're not going to slowly move and go back and go again. Okay? This is for when we join the Nei Gong together. We want to focus our mind purely on the concept of Peng, the upwards expansive aspect. So to drop the hands, we simply let go of the posture and come back to a position where we're completely natural. And what I would like you to do and appreciate is that we want to make every single repetition as perfect as we can. And to do that, we can't make it one flow. We can't make it one flow of movement. We want to make each time we go to produce the Peng concept, it is as strong and clear as it can be. So we go back to a point of reset prior to the next repetition. So let's look at the choreography again, hands by the sides. Draw the hands towards the front, squat down slightly, and bring the hands downwards. Bring the hands up the front of the body, center line. As they reach the point of the solar plexus, they expand outwards. The back rounds slightly. There's a nice curve around from the fingers to the other fingers. The pulse point is pointed at 45 degrees in towards the center line. Now at this point, we still want to maintain the upwards direction in the spine, this opening aspect, and we want to bend our legs very slightly. So we feel that the body is expanding in all directions, but is rooted at the same time. We're not lifting up like this so that we lose our balance, okay? So let's look again. Hands come to the front, draw down, draw up. Solar plexus, expand in all directions. We'll go over details shortly. And squat the legs very, very slightly, and then we're in this position. Now, what I want you to think about at a basic level is the idea inside the body, the feeling inside all of the body, including all the way to the hands. And the feeling is that we are opening from a central point. So if I was to expand it, it would be that I was curled into a central point, and then I open, and I open up like this, okay? That's the feeling that we have as we do the movement. So as you go through the basic movement, draw up, expand, feel that the head is pulling upwards, the body is opening. I'm not puffing the chest, but the body is opening up. Every tissue in the arms is expanding and opening up. The back is opening. The Mingmen and the lumbar fascia area of the lower back is opening. The legs have an expansive quality. Even though they're bending slightly, they have this feeling that they're opening in all directions. We're pressing onto the earth with our feet. The Dongjin is strong. And everything is expanding and opening away from a central point. Once we get that feeling, you can hold for a few seconds, get that feeling, and then completely let go. And then we make the next repetition perfect. Perfect in terms of sensation and power. And let go. And again, we go. Open. Everything is opening. Everything is opening up. Inside, we're paying attention. Breath remains soft. We don't hold our breath at any point. And release. And again. Let's do a few repetitions together. Open. Open in all directions. Whole body is opening up. And release. And again. Open. And release. Okay, so this is the basic choreography for Peng Nei Gong. Think about the quality inside the body and the type of jin, the type of trained expression that we are trying to produce, as we perform this basic, simple movement. The movement is not the focus. The focus is the quality that creates the movement. In this lesson, we're going to look at the more advanced, more experience level details for the Peng Nei Gong. Now, this simple movement is full of details that we can add. And first and primary among them is the inflation or opening of the joints. As we perform the rising, opening action, we want to feel that every joint in the body is inflating or opening up. And this combination of every joint opening up is producing an expansive type of power. So what we do is the basic exercise, the movement doesn't change. But what we do is we come to the first set position here, where we bend slightly, the hands come towards the front. Now, as we open, we are going to open the feet, feel like the joints of the legs are opening up and every vertebra in the spine is opening up. And this opening is leading our hands to rise. Okay? Now, as the hands reach the solar plexus, the joints of the arms start to expand. So I expand through the shoulder, I expand through the elbow, and I expand through the wrist and the fingers. At this point, I feel like I have this inflation concept in every joint in the body. The whole body, every joint in the body feels like it's opened up, and this has created the posture. So the posture hasn't been created by me moving, the posture has been created by the internal opening of the joints. So again, compress and be in the ready posture. Now open the joints of the legs and the spine. This leads the hands to rise. Begin to open the shoulders. Now open the elbows. Now open the hands. And what we feel is that we get this sort of like an inflatable balloon opening up. It starts all collapsed, and then you start blowing it up, and it suddenly becomes big and rigid. That's the sort of sensation. Body open, open, open. And this leads the hands to rise. Okay? Then open the joints, open the joints, open the joints, open the joints. This inflation leads the hands to open up. And then we hold the position, feel the inflation, and then release. And then we go again. So we go to the front position, begin this process of inflation, all the joints, and open. And relax. And again, inflation in all the joints, inflate, inflate, inflate. Lead this to make the arms rise, open and inflate the joints of the arms. And we feel this clear sort of boing, opening up of the body. So this is the first additional concept for this basic movement. Now next, what we're going to do is think about leading the movement with intent. So we have this feeling of opening in the joints. Next, what we're going to do is lead this opening sensation in the tissues. So the joints are producing the scaffolding for the position. Every joint is articulating, opening up, and producing the scaffolding. Now what we're going to do is feel like the breath and the intent is leading the tissues themselves to open, to pull taut all over the body and expand. Now, an important part with this is that we don't tense the muscles. We don't go to here and tense up and become strong and tense. In fact, we open and extend and feel like every tissue is stretching and opening in all directions. Okay? It's much like pulling a sheet taut. That's the sort of sensation. Feel the expansion in the joints. Link that to the breathing cycle. Okay? So the breath is entering into the joints and expanding them. And at the same time, the breath is flowing through all of the tissues. Feel the tissues start to reach, stretch, and expand. and then release. Okay, again, extend all the tissues, expand. Feel the opening of the entire body, this opening, expansive aspect, while still rooted to the spot. Remember, we don't want to raise the chi, as it would be known, where we puff the chest out and the body starts to rise up. We actually want to stay rooted to the spot, but with an outward, expansive type of energy. Again, joints open, intent fills the tissues, and we expand in all directions. The back is pushing backwards, the back of the hands is pushing forwards, the elbows are pushing out to the side, the head is pushing up to the ceiling. Everything, every direction is expanding. Extension in the tissues, and release. And when you release, make sure you let go of it all. It doesn't remain as you do it. Okay? So finally, we look at the 6 directions. And this is associated with the opening of the joints and the extension in the tissues. And what we're going to do is feel that we are pressing forwards, we're pushing back, we're pushing to the sides, and we're pushing up and down. Okay? Forwards, back, left, right, up, down. So as we do the movement, we have the up, down in the axis of the body. Okay? Then we have the side to side with the elbows as the hands raise. We have the left and right. Okay, so the elbows are tracking out to the left and right. So we have the yin and yang, the up and down, the heaven and earth. We then produce the left and right. Remember the 5 directions. And then we produce the forwards and back. And as we produce the forwards and back, we go to central equilibrium. So at this stage, we are pushing forward, pushing back, pushing to the sides, up and down, expanding all the joints, stretching all the tissues, and maintaining an internal focus and release. So these details can transform the basic Nei Gong. Now, it's important for me to say that these should not get in the way of the basic internal focus. If you're completely externally focused, focusing on the joints, the tissues, and you're not feeling the type of power, it's not correct. So first, practice the basic movement, feel the general type of power that we're talking about, and then you will be able to add details while still remaining focused on the type of force.
Watching this video from the Tai Chi Academy, please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon to be informed of any new videos that we upload.